जय श्री माता जी। Srimad Devi Bhagavat. If you want to know who Adi Shakti is, read Devi Bhagavat, said by Her Holiness Srimataji Nirmala Devi. Sankalpam Mama Atmanaha Sahajayogi Kutumbanam Atmonnati Prityartham Moksha Prapti Prityartham Sakshat Shri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devyai Pujanam Karishe. The holy recital of Srimad Devi Bhagavat. Chapter 2, Episode 9-10. Ruru surrenders half his life for Pramdwara. Sage Kashyap accepts money from Takshak. Death of Parikshit. Parikshit says, Muni Ruru got enchanted with Pramdwara. He went home and lay down. When his father saw that he was distracted and distraught, he asked him the reason. He said to his father, There is a maiden named Pramdwara in sage Stulkesh's ashram. I wish to marry her. Muni Pramati went immediately to sage Stulkesh and persuaded him to agree to the marriage of Pramdwara with Ruru. They selected an auspicious date and started making all arrangements for the marriage. One day, during that time, Pramdwara was wandering in the courtyard of the ashram. A snake was basking in the sun and she accidentally stepped on it. No sooner her foot touched it, the snake struck her and put its venom into her. She fell down lifeless. Everyone was plunged into grief and despair. There was great confusion because all the munis began to arrive from surrounding areas. The father was inconsolable and Ruru sank into deep sorrow. Pramdwara was such a chaste and holy maiden that even in death her face was radiant and she looked as if she was asleep. All the sages went into consultation. Ruru ran outside to give vent to his sorrow. He felt that it was his misfortune that brought the fateful snake into the ashram to bite the maiden. The joy of marrying Pramdwara had been snatched from him and there was no reason for him to continue living. He sat on the bank of the river and contemplated suicide. But then he thought, if I take my own life, the only fruit of my action will be that I will always be accused of committing suicide. My father will be sad and my mother will not be able to bear my death. Only bad luck will enjoy my fate. My death will not benefit Pramdwara in any way. There will be more harm done than good. If I stay alive, no one will be adversely affected. He got up, took a bath, purified himself, and took water in both his hands. Then he declared, If I have worshipped God, if I have done just deeds, if I honored my Guru, if I have uttered prescribed mantras and prayers, if I have meditated, if I have performed havans and sacrifices, if I have recited the holy Gayatri mantra and done Surya Namaskara, if these have been acceptable to God, then let my Pramdwara come back to life. If not, I will give up my life. Saying this with complete worship and surrender, he poured the water onto the earth. He had just completed this when a messenger from God appeared before him. The messenger said, O Brahmin, you must not grieve thus for a deceased wife. How can a dead maiden come to life? She was the daughter of the Apsara Menaka and her lifespan is spent. She died before getting married. You find another partner and marry her. What feelings can you have for a dead girl now? Ruru said, O divine messenger, whether she is alive or dead, it is now my decision that I will not marry anyone else. I will die." Seeing this devotion, the Devdut was very pleased. He offered him a most pleasing and acceptable proposal. He said, "I will tell you a strategy that the gods used in ancient times. If you give up half of your lifespan, you can get back the life of Pramdwara." Ruru said, "This very moment I am prepared to give up half of my life. I desire that my dear Pramdwara should get life and sit up." Just then, Muni Vishwavasu arrived on his Vahana vehicle. He was the king of the Gandharvas. He had heard of the death of his daughter Pramdwara and he came down from the heavens. Both Vishwavasu and the divine messenger went to Dharmraj, Yama, god of death, and said, "O Deva, this maiden who has just died is the daughter of Vishwavasu and is the betrothed of Muni Ruru. She died of snake bite. Ruru is prepared to give half his life in exchange for hers. We pray you to accept this and give life back to Pramdwara. He also surrenders the fruits of all his pious prayers and actions." Dharmraj said, "Devdut, as desired, you may go to Ruru and in exchange for half his life, Pramdwara can be brought to life again." Raja Parikshit says, the divine messenger went to Ruru and gave him back Pramdwara. After that, on an auspicious date and time, the marriage was performed according to prescribed rites. Thus, by using all the means available, even a dead girl could be brought back to life. It is prescribed in the Shastras that all means should be used: gemstones, mantras, medicines to preserve life. After this, Raja Parikshit handed over the running of his kingdom to trusted and capable ministers and built a 7-storied mansion. He took his ministers with him and went to live in the uppermost floor. For his protection, he called the learned men versed in the knowledge of mantras and gemstones. Then he called for Muni Gaurmukh. He sent him to the Muni Gavijat, who had cursed him, to appease the Muni by saying again and again, "Parikshit is your servant, please forgive him." To further ensure his safety, Parikshit called priests in addition to his ministers. The guards were all young and strong, and many elephants stood in front of the gate. The arrangements were so secure that no living thing could enter unnoticed. Even the wind was restricted. The king ate and drank and even bathed on the uppermost floor. A well-known Brahmin, Kashyap, heard that the king was under a curse to die of snake bite. He was eager to earn some wealth. He decided to go to the mansion where the king was now living. He was very learned in the use of mantras, but he was greedy for money. Sutji says, the curse was already known to Takshak, one of the 8 serpents of the netherworld. The day Kashyap began his journey to the king, Takshak disguised himself as a young man and also started towards the king's mansion. On the way, he met Kashyap. He asked him, "Maharaj, where are you going with such determination and speed?" Kashyap replied, "A serpent is going to bite King Parikshit. I am going there to remove the venom and its fire from his body. I know the mantra for neutralizing venom. If the king still has a lifespan, I can certainly revive him." Takshak said, "Brahmin, I am that very Takshak and I am going to consume him with the fire of my venom. You better return to your house. There is no cure for my venom." Kashyap said, "Serpent, the Brahmin has cursed the king, so it is inevitable that you will definitely bite him. But my mantra has the power to give him back the balance of his lifespan." Takshak said, "Brahmin, you are a holy soul. Before you try your cure on the king, show me your powers. I will put my poisonous fangs into that banyan tree." Kashyap said, "I can revive it to its former greener state." Sutji says, Takshak bit the tree and the venom reduced it to ashes. Then he asked the Brahmin to revive it. The Brahmin collected all the ashes. Then he said to Takshak, "O serpent who spews venom, now see how I revive the tree." Saying this, he took a handful of water, chanted a mantra, and sprinkled it over the ashes. As soon as the drops of water touched it, the tree was restored to its former green, leafy state. Takshak was astonished to see this. He asked the Brahmin, "Why are you taking so much trouble? Whatever you are expecting in return, tell me and I will give that to you." Kashyap said, "I am in need of wealth. If I revive the king, he will definitely reward me. Thinking of this, I am making my way to the king." Takshak said, "O twice born, I will give you whatever amount you were hoping to get from the king. Take it and go back to your house. In this way, I also can accomplish my duty." Sudji says, being aware of the importance of truthfulness, the Brahmin began to ponder over what Takshak said about doing one's duty. He thought, "If I take the money and go home, the world will condemn me as avaricious. If I revive the king, I will get a reward and also name and fame. I will also reap the blessings that one gets on saving the life of another. Honor should always be preserved. Without honor, wealth is held in contempt." Raghu, an ancient king of the Sun dynasty and forefather of Sri Rama, gave away all his wealth to Brahmins for the sake of honor. In the same way, for the sake of honor, King Harishchandra and Karan became poor and destitute. Therefore, if King Parikshit burns from the venom of the serpent, how can I neglect him? If I save the king, all his subjects can live peacefully and happily. Because without a king, the kingdom faces destruction. If the king dies, his death will be a sin on my conscience. I will be scorned as a greedy man." After giving due consideration to all aspects, Kashyap went into a meditative state. He was astonished to discover that King Parikshit's lifespan had come to its end. So he took the money from Takshak and went home. After convincing Kashyap to go back to his house, Takshak waited for 7 days. Then he took the road to Hastinapur to carry out his task of killing King Parikshit. In the farthest part of his kingdom and in the highest point of his mansion sat the king, surrounded by his ministers and priests. Very strict security arrangements had been made. Takshak became anxious. He thought, "If I do not succeed in injecting my venom into the king, the Muni will certainly curse me." This frightened him. He went into deep contemplation to find a way to enter the mansion. He thought, "The king has been cursed by a Brahmin." He was foolish enough to dishonor a Brahmin and incur his wrath. In the lineage of King Pandu, there has never been a king so vicious as to place a dead snake around the neck of a meditating tapasvi. Knowing that the time for retribution has come, he has made such elaborate arrangements for his safety. He is trying to elude and dodge death. I have to find a way to fulfill the directive of the Muni. Death does not wait. This foolish king seems to be unaware of the fact. Fate is very powerful. If he is fated to die, then even 1 crore precautions cannot prevent it. In spite of knowing that he has become the prey, he is still making plans to live. That is why he is sitting atop this high building. The duty of a king is to give alms and do charitable works. He not only gets blessings, but he also gets a longer lease of life. In case the lifespan is not increased and death is imminent, then if one does cleansing, charity and other pious acts, then the soul leaves the body, it directly goes to heaven. Otherwise, it languishes in hell. This king has already committed the great sin of tormenting and ascending in meditation. To incur such a horrible curse is the worst thing that could happen. There appears to be no Brahmin among his priests who can explain to him that a curse of death from a Brahmin is irreversible and inevitable. After thinking all these things, Takshak disguised all his serpent companions as ascetics and sent them to the king. They carried fruits and flowers. Takshak turned himself into a tiny worm and got into a fruit. Then he became impatient to go and complete the job. The disguised serpents started their journey. They were stopped at the gates by the guards who asked the purpose of their visit. They replied, "We are ascetics and have come from Tapovan, that is sacred grove, to pay our respects to the king Parikshit, son of Abhimanyu. He is the rising sun of the clan. His form is radiant and most pleasing. We have come to chant mantras from the Atharvana Veda, which will ensure his long life. Kindly inform the king that we will perform Abhishek, sprinkling of water, offer fruits and leave. We have visited many kings in this land and have never been turned away by the palace guards. We wish to go to the king personally and confer our blessings on him." Sudji says, believing them to be Brahmins, the guards repeated to them the king's orders. "We are not allowed to permit anyone to see the king today. We request you to come tomorrow. The king has been cursed with death and he is afraid to meet anyone today." The ascetics said, "These flowers, fruits, and water are all blessings from us. At least send these to the king." The guards went to the king and gave him the message of the ascetics. The king asked them to bring the offerings of flowers, fruits, and water, and to request the ascetics to come the next day in the morning. He asked them to convey his respects. The guards went down, conveyed the message to the ascetics, and respectfully accepted the flowers and fruits. These were presented before the king. The serpents disguised as ascetics left. The king asked the ministers to eat the fruits, and he also picked one for himself. When he cut the fruit, he saw a little worm in it. It had black eyes and a red body. When the sun began to set, the king exclaimed, "Now I have no fear. The sun is about to set. I will honor the Muni's curse. May this little worm bite me." Saying this, he placed the worm on his neck. As the sun went down, the worm changed into a serpent Takshak of the most fearful form. The king came face to face with his destroyer. The serpent sank his poisonous fangs into the king's neck. The ministers were astounded. They were paralyzed with fear at the sight of a huge serpent. Then they began to run here and there. The guards were shouting, and there was chaos everywhere. When the king was faced with the serpent's hood, he lost all his courage and strength. He could neither cry out nor could he move. The serpent sank his fangs into the king, and the venom pervaded his body. The king died instantly. The serpent completed his task and returned to the heavens. All the subjects began to grieve for their king.
The Holy Recital of Srimad Devi Bhagavat.
Jai Shrimati Ji.